Good evening. This is Rachel with Infused Meadows, and we're making dinner. I'm making $1,000,000 spaghetti, or my version of $1,000,000 spaghetti. So basically, it's just a really rich, very filling spaghetti. So I've already shown you all how I make my spaghetti sauce. There's a video on that. And then the only thing I'm doing right now is browning up my meat. Now I'm using 1 pound or 500 grams of ground turkey. Feel free to use ground beef. I just prefer ground turkey in this. I think it takes on a better flavor from the sauce. But that's my preference. So you do whatever you want to do with that as far as the meat goes. Okay, so like I said, I've already shown you all the spaghetti sauce. I just wanted you to see that I'm cooking up the 1 pound of ground turkey, and then over here is my sauce. And so once I get this nice and cooked up, I'm going to put this into my spaghetti sauce, and then I'm going to move on to my pasta. I'll get my water going, and then while that's going, we're going to make up a cheese mix that's going to go into everything, okay? So I will bring you back. Okay, so I have myself 7 ounces of pasta. I've got, for you in the U.S., Parmesan. Over here, I've got the Italian hard cheese. I've got my grater. I have some full-fat cottage cheese and some cream cheese. So, what I like to do is we're going to go in with, I don't measure usually, so about 1/4 cup of cream cheese, okay? I just know what I like. Now, if you don't like cottage cheese, feel free to go in with, like, what do you call it, ricotta. I personally don't like ricotta. I know, probably weird, but it is what it is. Now, I'm going to use this whole thing. This is a little over 1 cup. So, for you in the U.S., you just want the little 8 ounce, I think it's 8 ounces, thing of cottage cheese. Now, if I was making my lasagna, I would use a much bigger thing of cottage cheese. And you want to mix this up really, really well. Alright, I'm going to have to pause this for a second because I forgot my spices. Okay, so to mine, I like to add 1 teaspoon, or sorry, 1/2 teaspoon. I have my 4th teaspoon, so I'm going to do 2 of these of my garlic powder. Not garlic salt, just garlic powder. So 1 and 2. And then I like to add 1/4 teaspoon of my onion powder. And then you just want to mix that in. Now, cottage cheese in the U.S., you're not going to have to do what I'm about to do. For the UK, you need to add a pinch of salt. It's just a pinch. Alright. I'm going in with my, like I said, if you're in the U.S., Parmesan. If you're in the UK, and probably some other parts of the world, you want to do the hard, Italian hard cheese. And then you're just going to grate this in. You're roughly doing about 1/4 cup, but what you want to do is you want to stir it. And once you notice that most of that liquid bit from your cottage cheese is gone, that's when you know that you're good. Because you don't want this overly dry, but you don't want it runny either, okay? So this is something I've made for a long time. I just never stopped to measure when it came to this. I've always known you know that I've used this one particular tub of the cottage cheese. So I know it's one whole small tub of cottage cheese. And I'm going to add just a little bit more grated cheese to this. Like I said, it's roughly a packed fourth a cup. It could even be about a third of a cup of the Parmesan. And downside to grating, I have cheese everywhere. That's alright, I'll clean it up. Okay. So that is about the consistency that I'm looking for. I hope that that helps. It's just, you know, it doesn't fall right off of your spatula, as you can see. And that's all we want. Okay, my water is starting to boil, so I'm going to get my pasta going. Don't forget, when you do your pasta, you have to add salt to that water, okay? We'll be back. Make sure that you get yourself a good-sized pan. I normally use a glass pan for this, but it's a very large glass pan, and I'm not making as much as I normally do. I want to say it's a glass 9 by 13, roughly. If you get the Pyrex set of glass pans, it's the biggest one in the set of 3. But unfortunately, my middle pan got broke, which is what I was wanting. It didn't survive the move, so it got broke. So this is the substitute that I have for that. And all you're going to do with this for right now, because we're waiting on this, you don't want to cook your pasta until it's all the way done. You only want it al dente. So when you bite into it and you test it, you are looking for, you know, soft on the outside, slightly hard in that center. It will finish cooking in the oven. Speaking of ovens, go ahead and set your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit or 180 degrees Celsius. So, just to make sure you can see, this is what I do for mine. It's just dollops. Because this is really good. I try to get it in every bite. Or at least as many bites as I can, because I'm going to put more on the top. Okay, so all I'm doing now is waiting on my pasta, and then we'll put all this together. We'll be back. Okay, my pasta is done, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to drain that off, and then I'm going to be adding it to this pan pot, as I call it, of my spaghetti sauce, and I've already got my meat in there. I showed y'all that, okay? I'm going to give this a stir, because it has been sitting for just long enough to see a little bit of water, even though this is a very, very nice thick sauce. Regardless, I'm going to get this dealt with, and we'll be right back. And for those that didn't know this, to make straining easier, all you have to do is take your colander and set it down and tip it in the sink. Be back. Okay, so I have that in there. I've stirred it in really, really well. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to dip this out and then try to kind of push it down over that cheese mixture. Now if you're, well, it doesn't matter on this one if you're here or in the US. Usually you'll use a mozzarella for this. However, I have found that if you've got a mixture of mozzarella, for you in the US, provolone, for the UK, Edam, with a little bit of cheddar and some Monterey Jack, it's really good. So basically just take your, in the US, take your taco mix and grab yourself a little bag of mozzarella and a little bag of Monterey Jack. Mix that up. You'll find it is absolutely delicious, and it is a perfect blend for this. Now I buy this one. It's at Morrison's over here. It's a 4 cheese mix. Absolutely delicious. Unfortunately, I didn't have any Parmesan, which was, or sorry, not Parmesan, mozzarella. which is why I'm using this. But I like it in this since I found this cheese. So all you're going to do is, and you want, you know, a full bag, you're going to sprinkle this over it. Okay. And then you're going to go back in with this, with your little cheese mixture. Same thing, we're just dolloping. You use whatever pasta you want, by the way. I like the little spirals. If I had them here, I would probably use the little bow ties. But you can also use spaghetti, linguine, fettuccine. Use whatever you want. Okay, we're going to go in with the rest of this. I'm sorry. I know I'm in your way, but you'll see it as soon as it's done. That's what my spatula is always for. So as you can see, if you want to do more than 8 ounces or 7 ounces of pasta, excuse me, you will need a bigger pan, okay? It's okay if some is shining through. That's just fine. And the same thing again. You're going to use whatever you got left. This time it's kind of reverse. We're just going to, I like to always hit those corners. And then a couple in the middle. And then I'll just divide that and go like that. Okay. And then we want to finish off this cheese. Now, this lasts us for several nights. Whatever's left over come tomorrow night, though, I will literally put it into a vacuum seal bag, freeze it, and then I'll vacuum seal it. I don't vacuum seal before because it'll squish it. But you can vacuum seal it. You can put it into an airtight container, and when you're ready for it, as long as it's within, I think, the next 6 months, I would use it within the next month or two, just because it is pasta at the end of the day. And once you cook pasta, it really does not like to be frozen and thawed, okay? So, like I said, this pan right here will do my husband and I for, honestly, it'll do for 3 nights. But what I'm going to do tomorrow night is I'm going to freeze whatever I have left over. Because Wednesday I'm making goulash. So, sorry, American style, Southern style goulash. So we'll get to that. But I'm going to pause this and pop this in the oven. You want to bake this until you'll see the bubbles along the side and your cheese should be melted. Usually takes between 15 and 20 minutes depending on your oven. So just set yourself a timer for 15 minutes. And then check it at that point, okay? We'll be back. And there you are. Mine took 16 minutes in the oven. Well, about 16 and a half. So, the bubbling has just stopped, I guess, because, I pulled it out of the oven. You can see that the cheese is nice and melted. I'm going to let this cool for at least 5 minutes, and then all you got to do is use a big spoon scoop out what you want, put it on your plate, and enjoy. I hope you make this. I hope you love it, if not like it. And as always, if not, then hey, hope you find the recipe that's out there for you. And have yourself a very wonderful rest of your day.